Hey, this is Tim Cummins, and welcome back to another Story Tip, where I tell my favorite stories from my 50 years here on planet Earth. This one is called Gaboon Viper. Now, you know, I've worked in the Nairobi Snake Park for several years, where I would go over there and help the guys with their different snakes and stuff. And if you've heard some of the stories from Story Tim, you may have heard some of those about the python and the spitting cobras and things. But this one is related to a Gaboon Viper. Now, the Gaboon Viper is, of course, a viper, very poisonous, one of the largest of the poisonous snakes or venomous snakes, I should say, in Africa. It normally is in the forest, the heavy forest areas. It's one of the most beautiful of all the snakes. Normally they're about like this wide, and they've got black and purple and blues and greens on there and a kind of a crosshatch pattern and stuff like this. And they are an ambush hunter, ambush predator, where they will stay by a game trail completely still, and as an animal would come by, then they would would attack it. Now, one thing you may know, and about herpetology may not, is snakes have a forked tail, but something that you may not know is the reason why it's a forked tail. Because you know how humans, we have two ears, and so we can tell in stereo about which direction stuff. A snake can actually smell in stereo. Because of the stronger scent on the left part of the fork or the right part of the fork, they can know whether the animal is to the right or to the left to them. Anyway, just a little herpetology trivia for you. So anyway, I can remember we were going to have to go out there and clean out this Gaboon Viper's enclosure, which is what we did with all the snakes. We would get them out with the snake stick and put them in a place that was safe. We clean this place out and put the snake back in, or sometimes we just put them in a bag. Well, this particular Gaboon Viper, I was with a guy, his name was Simon, and Simon was like, "Okay, Tim, we're going to go and clean Gaboon Viper." And I'm like, "Well, okay, whatever you say, brother." So we went over there to get it, and he has like a snake stick, which is not like a clamping kind. All it is like a stick with an L shape on it like this, and he would just put this thing under this snake, and he would lift it up, and the snake would kind of balance itself on the stick. So he just brought it out of the cage, and then he just lifted it down and just put it right there on the ground by us. And I'm looking at this like, Buana, this is one of the most venomous snakes in Africa. Are you just gonna just leave him there? You're not gonna put him anywhere? He says, "No, this one, he just likes to lala." That means in Swahili we say lala is like to sleep. He said, "This snake just likes to lala there. He's just going to sleep, don't worry." So he just laid on the floor there, and sure enough, he didn't attack us. But I got to say, I was kind of like tippy-toeing around him on the other side. I was giving him kind of a wide berth because these things would strike. And they had fangs that were about as big as my index finger. It had to be at least 2 inches. And they would fold like on our North American rattlesnakes. So like when it closed its mouth, the fang would close up to the top of its mouth, and when it opened its mouth, it would flip out, sort of like a stiletto or a jackknife or something. So yeah, he would just put the snake down there right beside us. So I went around there to try to kind of clean it up with my eye, definitely watching the snake. And sure enough, got it all cleaned up. And he just put that L's thing underneath that snake and lifted him back up, got a balanced big old heavy snake, put it back down in there, and he was just fine. And I was just fine, but not the kind of thing I'd want to do every day. And that was another Story Tim.